These are Mexico's chosen people. And this is their promised land. Each week, thousands more arrive seeking salvation in the foreign-owned factories or maquiladoras that fill the border town of Juarez. Four years ago, the people of Mexico and the United States signed a free trade agreement. Their leaders promised would mean prosperity for all.
This is our opportunity to provide an impetus to freedom and democracy in Latin America and create new jobs for America as well. It's a good deal, and we ought to take it.
But a good deal for who? Since NAFTA was signed, over 100 American companies have come to Juarez, and more are on their way. But they pay their workers just 53 cents an hour, less than $30 a week. Unions here are all but banned, and the vast majority of the people continue to live in grinding poverty.
A city that I knew as a kid, and that was a peaceful and very nice city, that since this event of bringing in maquiladoras and the North American Free Trade Agreement has turned into a nightmare.
This, however, is not a problem simply for Mexicans, for the jobs created south of the border have been torn from the heart of Middle America. It's a sound that says good morning. Here in Bloomington, Indiana, they joke that you don't need an alarm clock, just the 6:30 freight train. Everything about this town says Middle America. Children here are taught to love the game, to respect the umpire's decision, and to be team players, of course. For 50 years, the RCA-Thomson plant has been the centrepiece of this town's economy, churning out millions upon millions of television sets. For the people who worked there, it was far more than a job, though. They believed they were building an American icon.
They were central, very central. And a lot of pride in our community, too. People thought, you know, God, we've got the RCA plant here. We make TVs that are sold worldwide, you know.
Today, the Stars and Stripes still fly over the Thompson plant, but the workers are gone and the factory is silent.
The union, at the very beginning, tried to tell the people that there wasn't anything they could do.
Jim Miller worked at Thompson RCA all his life. He signed up at 18 and he fully expected to retire from there.
Was it a difficult time?
It was definitely difficult. At first, people didn't believe it, and they tried to convince themselves that it was just a contractual joke. Then they decided that, yes, it really is going to close, and they became scared. Myself, I've been here for 28 years. I've had family members here, and I consider most of the people working here as family.
As family?
As family. And
was it that close?
It was that close. And you hate to lose your family, and that's what it's like.
We had to leave because our competitors, virtually all of them, are in Mexico today. And the reality is they're paying a far reduced labor rate than we have to pay in the United States.
This is WFHB, Bloomington, Indiana. My name is Lisa Sorg. Now we're going to play a song that a lot of people have been wanting to hear. It's a song called Letter to Juarez, written by...
Working at the Thompson plant, south of the border. There are a few things that we have learned we think you should know.
To say that people here feel betrayed by the closure is an understatement. Families built their homes and their lives around the factory.
Let this letter from us remind you how it will go.
3 years ago, when management told employees it needed to cut costs, workers agreed to give up more than $200 million in benefits. In return, the company promised it would be staying in Bloomington.
Don't listen what the company says. They will leave you flat in Juarez. You traded in 58 years and all that it meant for 53 cents.
Do you feel that they lied to you?
They definitely lied to me and every employee that works here.
So how does that make you feel now looking back on it?
Mad. I trusted them. I trusted them with my life. Now I have no job. I'm out of work.
The company, though, denies this.
Not at all. We said at that time that the business was in trouble. At the time, the sales were down. And at the time, our competitors were on a steady exodus from the United States to Mexico. And what we said is, we will preserve these jobs for the duration of the contract, which is a 3-year contract, in exchange for this concessionary package.
For all the anger Jim Miller feels, he's still one of the luckier workers. At 48, he's young enough to retrain, but many of his friends aren't quite so fortunate.
They all play golf. I don't think he's back playing golf yet.
John Rowe joined Thompson RCA in 1961. His only time away came in the mid-1960s when he fought for his country in Vietnam. Now at 58, he faces a bleak future.
You told me that you'd built a new house about 4 years ago.
Yes, sir.
How does all this leave you then?
Pretty hard. I may have to sell my new home. I'm not saying I will have to. If I come up and get lucky and find a job right away, then I'll continue having my new house. But if not, I'll have to sell my new home and get something cheaper.
So your home's at stake?
Yes.
Potentially?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is.
On a sunny day like this, with friends around, it's easy to forget the tough choices facing this group.
How about them pressures, John?
Hey, I'm proud of them, buddy.
They can take a job making $5 an hour, or like Rota, go back to school.
I must be out of my mind to be doing this at this stage, you know. I mean, I've got grandkids. I shouldn't be doing this.
Does our government want us to live that way? That's what I'm wondering.
Is that what goes through your head?
It'd be pretty sad. Yes, it is. We have a rich, a middle class, and a poor here in the United States. They're getting it down to the rich and the poor. There'll be no middle class people if it keeps continuing the way it is.
Surprisingly, Jim and his friends feel no resentment towards the Mexican people who've taken their jobs. Their anger is directed far closer to home.
There is no doubt in my mind at all that NAFTA cost me my job and cost the people that I worked with for the last 28 years their jobs.
Since NAFTA was signed, the movement of people and goods across the Mexican-American border has simply exploded. Jim Miller has agreed to come with us to Juarez, and he's keen to see if his job, the job that he lost, is delivering someone else a slice of the American dream. But Juarez, as he soon discovers, is not a place for dreams. It's become an industrial park, a place where foreign businesses can find people who will work for next to nothing. Thompson RCA has 3 maquila factories in Juarez. We have persuaded them to let us inside the largest. Inside, for Jim at least, it's a familiar scene. Circuit boards, plastic cases, all being created as high-definition TVs to be exported back to America. For Jim, though, certain things do jar. Workers move heavy boxes without safety equipment. And this woman is expected to work all day in a job that could easily cripple her with RSI.
they will have to find new workers because they're going to wear these out.
Are you saying that you think the company just feels these people at that very low rate of pay are expendable?
They're definitely expendable. They have people wanting jobs in Mexico all the time. They can go out on the street and get anybody and bring them in and put them there until they're no good to them anymore, and then throw them out the door and get another one.
Si nos queremos organizar o protestar, somos despedidas, como es en mi caso, que me despidieron de una empresa maquiladora en el 85. Recibimos acoso sexual por parte de los supervisores y de los jefes.
Judith Galarza is a human rights activist. For the last decade, she has been an outspoken critic of the maquiladoras. She has been black-banned from the factories, and her life has been threatened. But she says she will not be silenced.
El salario es una ofensa a la humanidad, porque haciendo un cálculo de lo que ellos producen, están produciendo muchísima riqueza. Entonces, este salario está determinado por el mismo gobierno mexicano, pero es un salario que no permite ni siquiera sobrevivir.
But the story of how these people work is just one part of the picture. The places where many of them are forced to live tell so much more. This is the suburb of Anapra. Located just a few hundred yards from the Mexican-American border, it is the home for thousands of maquila workers. In this town, the factory's one concession is to supply free buses to take the workers to and from the factories. Joan Irene lives here with her husband and 3 children in this tiny house. There is no sewerage, no running water, and her one luxury is electricity, stolen from the power lines above her home. Tonight, here as every night, dinner is beans.
Esta es la cocina.
No, aquí nomás tengo así porque como está chiquito el cuarto.
It's very small, so I just have the bed and a little table.
Allá se quedan mis niñas.
That's where my daughter sleeps.
Does she ever wonder why the government makes people live like this on such low wages?
Pues sí, pues que pagan muy poco aquí en Juárez y mucha gente mejor se ha ido para el Paso porque pagan mejor.
Yeah, of course, many people ask themselves the same thing. The salaries are just very low here in Juarez, and I know a lot of people who have just decided to give up and go to El Paso or try to make their way into the United States because of that.
Next door, her brother is building his house. Every single part of it has been made of cardboard. He too works at a maquila. He's paid a pittance, but the factory rubbish dump has provided him, at least, with the materials for his home. And you can only wonder how the house hasn't already burnt to the ground.
I don't understand how they could live like this, how the government could let them live like this.
Does your heart go out to these people?
Oh, definitely. There's no hope for them the way it looks right now. The government isn't helping the way they are living and how they are bussed in and bussed out of here. There's just no realization on how they can survive.
But there's another side to Juarez that Jim Miller hopefully will never see. For those who won't work for 53 cents an hour, there is always prostitution, drug running, and even murder.
Y de hecho, al salir a la calle en Ciudad Juárez, ya es riesgo.
Crime photographer Jose Camira roams the streets with his police scanner, moving from one crime scene to another. For him, there's little doubt that the young women coming to Juarez to find work are now being preyed upon. In the last 2 years, he estimates, more than 100 have been raped, killed, and their bodies dumped in the desert.
Desgraciadamente, las mujeres son más vulnerables a la violencia y desafortunadamente muchas gentes que vinieron del sur buscando trabajo, femeninas, muchachas, hoy están muertas.
Here we have a bunch of ladies, because it's usually women who work in the maquiladoras, who are coming out of their jobs at midnight or at 4 o'clock in the morning and are found dead, violated, strangulated, thrown in the desert. And there is nobody with a mental capacity to tell that company, listen, if you're demanding of an employee to be placed in a position of risk, we expect you to do something to train that person, to provide basic transportation to places where that person may be safe.
But they don't care.
They don't care. No, precisely. No. Let's open up another industrial park, and here comes the company XYZ, and everything is wonderful.
These murders have sent a deep chill through the suburbs of this city. In a saner world, the government might well decide to slow the rate of development caused by free trade. But that seems unlikely. For the major corporations, there is just too much money to be made here.
The Mexican authorities and the American authorities contribute all that is necessary for beautiful industrial parks. They contribute wide streets. They contribute to the fast moving of cargo. And then the working class contribute the dead, the disappear, the mothers and wives crying day and night, widows and orphans. And everything is fine because we're pursuing the almighty dollar.
When the government signed the NAFTA agreement, they did so convinced they would also slow the number of border crossers. But that is not the way it has turned out. Even as they wait, another man is risking his life in an escape attempt. Downstream, 3 more men have waded across the brown ribbon of water that marks the border between Mexico and the United States. They too want to escape. The first man goes over the wall. Below, another crouches waiting. When the time is right, the first man makes his bid for freedom. If Bill Clinton thinks NAFTA's such a good deal, the question is, what are these people running from?